Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, football finally can't overcome a late deficit.
And men's soccer looks to get a win in Big Ten play. This is Hoosier Sports Night.
Hello and welcome to Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Evan Kamikow.
And I'm Gwen Parks.
Gwen, it's fall here in Bloomington. The weather's lovely. Football is here. Basketball starting up soon. But I heard you had a rough weekend.
I mean, I was in Cincinnati and fans were loud. My ears might be still ringing, but...
Well, your ears are going to ring for a long time. Football, still plenty more weeks. And on top of that, basketball, Assembly Hall. You know it gets loud there.
I do.
Anyway, let's get right into it. Indiana football had their first loss of the season on the road to the Cincinnati Bearcats Saturday night, 45-24. The Hoosiers now fall to 3-1 on the season before heading back into Big Ten play this weekend. Our IUSTV Sports football beat reporter Gwen Parks has more from Cincinnati.
The Cincinnati Bearcats ended Indiana's 3-0 streak in Nippert Stadium Saturday night, 45-24.
We weren't consistent in our execution. To me, that was really the key today. And then it just kind of snowballed as the lead got further and further away from us in the first half because the defense was giving up big plays. But at the same time, you got to be a complete defense. You know, we stopped the run today, but we got to stop the pass.
During the season so far, the Hoosiers have struggled on both sides of the ball, but still managing to slip away with the win in the second half of all games so far this season, but not tonight against the Bearcats. They put up some explosive plays, not allowing the Hoosiers to even make a chance to come back in the second.
We scored 35 points in the second half against Idaho, so we knew we could do it. They're a great team, Cincinnati. Their defense is really good, but we had that confidence,
After some adjusting, Indiana rattled off 14 unanswered in the third. Sean Shivers found the end zone twice, and Tywan Mullen with a key interception. Plus, Bazelak ending the night with his last pass attempt becoming his 66th, a school record.
I wanted to see who I can count on when things get hard. I wanted to see who we can trust when everything's going against us. And so I was proud of the guys for responding without question.
We just got to put this one behind us, move on. We got another tough road game next week, so we'll watch the film, clean things up, make corrections, move on. That's all you can do.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see if Tom Allen and the Hoosiers can find their rhythm this week and bounce back before they hit the road again, taking on Nebraska this Sunday. For IUSTV Sports, I'm Gwen Parks.
The Hoosiers will head down to Lincoln to take on the 1-3 Cornhuskers this Saturday for a battle of the Corn States. Am I right? Corn? Who doesn't like corn? The offensive line. You guys better like corn. Follow our IU football beat reporters team for more coverage on the Hoosiers this season.
With the volleyball program transitioning to conference play, questions about head coach Steve Arid continue to loom. And our Amanda Foster has an exclusive update on the situation. Amanda?
Thanks, Gwen. One of the storylines surrounding Indiana volleyball this season is the coaching style of head coach Steve Arid. Former players choosing to remain anonymous came forward last year alleging mental abuse. Up until now, Arid has not said anything to the media explicitly about the matter. Earlier this week, I had a chance to sit down with Coach Arid. Take a look.
I would say that the administration has a lot of faith in what I do and who I am. I think that, unbelievable coaches wouldn't come here if they didn't feel that we're in a great spot, in a good situation. No, we didn't have a player leave after January. I think with the pandemic, I think with the portal, I think there's a lot of changes and things going on in college athletics, and building programs is hard. It's what we do is hard, and how we go about our business is hard. I can say that if I think there was anything really alarming, I wouldn't be here. I think the administration really believes in what I do and how I do it. I think the girls are really excited. I think the players that we have love playing at IU. They love their experience, and just respectfully, I think that's what I want to focus on.
In May, the Indiana Daily Student published an article with multiple former players alleging mental abuse and misconduct by Steve Arid. According to the article, IU Athletics conducted a 3-week investigation last December and did not find sufficient evidence against Arid. After multiple off seasons with players transferring out of the program, the Hoosiers returned 14 athletes this season, and the players stood behind their head coach. Indiana has had one of the most successful starts to the season in recent years, already close to matching their total wins from last season. And last night, the Hoosiers hosted the Iowa Hawkeyes here in Bloomington. Our Michael Livingston has the recap.
Indiana Volleyball had their first home match in 32 days, facing the Iowa Hawkeyes. The Hoosiers swept the Hawkeyes in 3 sets.
Obviously proud of the team's performance tonight. I thought we started on time, played great.
The game saw junior Morgan Geddes step into a new role, going from right side to the middle blocker.
Morgan had a great night.
I remember Morgan bouncing a ball, and I think that just got me going a little bit.
Geddes led the Hoosiers offense with 12 kills.
The Indiana Hoosiers had a huge night here at the service line, led by Paula Sarame with 4 aces.
Sophomore setter Cameron Hayworth had the highest hitting percentage at .556.
And then Cam does what Cam does.
Hayworth was on both sides of the offense, dishing out 32 assists as well. The Hoosiers enjoyed being back in front of their home crowd in Wilkinson Hall for Big Ten play.
I don't know a better word for it than it's just so satisfying. To see all of the work that we've put through the preseason, being gone for 3 weeks, and then being gone this past weekend, taking a dub against Maryland, then coming here and being able to sweep Iowa. I feel like that was just exactly what our team needed.
The Hoosiers are back here Saturday night against Ohio State. From Wilkinson Hall, I'm Michael Livingston for IUS TV Sports.
On Saturday, the Hoosiers will take on the number 6 Ohio State Buckeyes at 7 p.m. in Wilkinson Hall. Follow along with our beat reporters Andy Manzer, Spencer Hoffman, Gabe Fenster, and Michael Livingston for more.
Indiana men's basketball hosted Media Day last week at Assembly Hall, and our Hank Joseph has more on Mike Woodson's team going into this season.
The Indiana men's basketball team enters the 2022-2023 season with lofty expectations and have a non-conference schedule that will test them early prior to the always difficult Big Ten season.
Yeah, we got some stiff competition this year with, Xavier and Carolina and Kansas and Arizona. Hey, it's what it is, man. Hey, we just got to be ready to play and compete.
Yeah, definitely. There's games that you learn, and then there's games, no matter what happens, you're going to learn from those games. Those are really good teams, really exciting teams to play against, and just being able to play those games is only going to make us better. So I think we can go out there and win all the games, but at the end of the day, win or lose, we're going to learn, we're going to get better. So I think those games are an advantage to us, if anything.
Talked about the non-conference strength of schedule, which should provide a lot of pressure on this team early on. They've got Arizona, North Carolina, and they play at Kansas, which should help this team get through some kinks early on, get into the Big Ten Conference schedule ready to play. And then he talked about, the growth of the 4 freshmen here, Malik Renew, CJ Gunn, Caleb Banks, and Jalen Hood-Shafino.
And I called them in after one practice, and I said, listen, there's going to come a time where you're going to beat that unit. Well, it's been kind of back and forth ever since those first 2 weeks. So they've been very, very competitive.
Senior forward Race Thompson did not see it that way.
Didn't win at all. I was a little sore. I didn't play that much during that time, but they were not winning. They probably won once or twice out of 20 times. So no, they definitely overstated that. They were not winning.
While there have been differing opinions on the results of the off-season scrimmages, the overall tone from Coach Woodson and his veterans is this group of highly touted freshmen will have opportunities to contribute greatly on the court this upcoming season. Hank Joseph, IUS TV Sports.
Next up for Indiana is Hoosier Hysteria, and as the season quickly approaches, make sure to follow along with Hank, Josh Bodie, and Evan Kamikow for all the coverage you need on Indiana men's basketball.
The women's basketball program shared the Media Day stage with the men's team last week to address not only the expectations they place on themselves for this new season, but those that fans have placed on them as well. IU women's basketball has made program history in all 3 of their most recent seasons, making back-to-back Sweet 16 and Elite 8 appearances and earning record-breaking rankings in the polls. But with arguably only 2 key players returning from last year and 7 incoming pieces between the 4 new freshmen and the 3 transfers, head coach Terry Morin knows the expectations that lie ahead of her and her new team.
We're not the team from last year, but we do have some interesting pieces. We have some talent that we're excited about. And I think it's part of the recruiting process. Certainly with our freshmen, they understand, they've watched us, the level of success that we've had. But I think with Ad and Sid, and Sarah and Alyssa, they're vets, right? They're experienced. They understand the expectation. They understand, the level of success we've enjoyed.
The Hoosiers begin their season in Assembly Hall against Kentucky Wesleyan on November 4th.
Coming up after the break, we crown Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week.
And we have more on men's and women's soccer, field hockey, and so much more, because why not? It is Hoosier Sports Night. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Hoosier Sports Night.
Joining us in studio for this week's Hoosier Highlight is IUS TV sports reporter Audrey Hausberger. Audrey?
Thanks, Gwen and Evan. Redshirt junior field hockey back Sydney Keld is a leader on and off the pitch, and she is our Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week. Keld made her move to Indiana from her hometown in Middleton, Delaware, after attending her freshman year at the University of Delaware. While Keld only saw in-game action 2 times during her first year playing as a Hoosier, she quickly made her mark in the program during her redshirt sophomore year, starting all 20 games. That would make her only one of 4 players to pick up that stat. After an impressive 2021-22 season, Keld was trusted with the responsibility to lead her squad as a captain along with fellow teammate Kennedy Reardon. Keld has continued to make strides this fall, recording 4 goals, 2 assists, and 12 shots so far. 3 of her 4 goals have come in the last 11 days alone, scoring a penalty shot in the Hoosiers' most recent game against Miami of Ohio and recording both of the shots against the Longwood Lancers to give IU a 2-0 win back on September 18th. Aside from being a leader for her field hockey teammates, Keld is also a Hoosier Hero mentor, guiding incoming student athletes to help them transition into college sports and act as a sort of backbone for her mentees. That's all for this week's Hoosier Highlight. Evan, back to you.
Thanks, Audrey. A lot more on the women's field hockey team coming up in just a moment. But right now, let's go back to men's soccer. After a frustrating 1-1 tie to Michigan State last Friday, the Indiana men's soccer team bounced back on Tuesday against Northwestern. Our Kara Adams has more.
After a 1-1 tie that felt like a loss to Michigan State last Friday, Indiana was searching to get their first Big Ten win of the season. The Hoosiers were able to get back on track tonight in Big Ten play with a 4-1 win over the Northwestern Wildcats.
It shows this group had a little no, not tonight. And we need a little bit more of that with this group at times. So
after going down in the first 3 minutes of the second half, the Hoosiers came bouncing back right away with a goal from Quinton Helmer.
Get a goal. His composure was excellent. He had a fantastic match again tonight, what he's bringing. So we're improving as a group, and we're individually also getting some better performance. That's what I'm pleased about.
Indiana just continued to add on to that goal, with goals coming from Carson Henderlog, Herbert Endeley, and Ryan Wittenbrink.
Good energy and good positive energy and attitude after conceding, so I think it's a great sign for the group. It was great. Obviously not the way I wanted to start the game, but obviously my staff and teammates have the utmost confidence in me, so that really helps me a lot.
Indiana's next test comes this weekend as they head to Ann Arbor to take on the Michigan Wolverines.
The group is going to Michigan. They're a really good team, much better than their record based on what I've seen, as was this team. This is a dangerous team tonight.
The Hoosiers will look to keep this positive momentum going into Sunday's game. Kara Adams, IUS TV Sports.
And like Kara said, the Hoosiers will look to continue the momentum going to this Sunday in Ann Arbor, where they'll take on the Michigan Wolverines at 4. Follow along with beat reporters Kara Adams, Amanda Foster, and Aiden Mattel for all things IU soccer.
The Indiana women's soccer team had a tough week with back-to-back losses to Minnesota and Wisconsin. Last Thursday, the Hoosiers kicked off Big Ten play on the road against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. In the first half, the Hoosiers had some shots on goal, but couldn't get past Minnesota goalkeeper Megan Pleshko and her golden saves. After a scoreless first, the Gophers found the back of the net in the 67th minute and managed to add on 2 more goals, making the final score 3-0. On Sunday, Indiana stayed on the road and took on the Wisconsin Badgers. Similar to their previous match, the Hoosiers had a few shots on goal early on, but were not successful in finding the back of the net.
Later in the 32nd minute, sophomore goalkeeper Jamie Gerstenberg received a red card, the first of her collegiate career. And this caused the Hoosiers to play one woman down, and that ultimately cost them the game. The Badgers were able to score 2 goals before the end of the first half, and despite some chances in the second, the Hoosiers just couldn't seem to get into the match. Indiana will look to get back on track as Big Ten play continues tonight against the Ohio State Buckeyes in Bloomington. Kickoff is set for 7, and be sure to follow along with beat reporters Ryan Costello, Kelsey Dennehy, and Josie Broyles for more on IU women's soccer.
Golden Gophers, golden goals. I see what you did there. I like that. Indiana field hockey hit the road last Friday, taking on the 4th-ranked Louisville Cardinals. The first half was tight, defensive, and scoreless for both sides before Louisville eventually broke through, securing 2 goals, leaving the Hoosiers unable to respond. Sophomore goalkeeper Arabella Loveridge managed to put up 7 saves in the effort, but it was ultimately not enough as Louisville taking the win 2-0. We shift to Sunday. The Hoosiers return home to Bloomington looking to secure a win versus the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. Indiana got on the board early as Sydney Keld, Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week, converted for her 4th goal of the season. The Redhawks responded shortly after to tie the match. Later in the second period, Indiana's Yip Van Wonderven ultimately scored the game-winning goal to make it a final score of 2-1. Indiana field hockey takes on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights tomorrow and hosts the Penn State Nittany Lions for the annual breast cancer awareness game on Sunday.
The Indiana men's golf team headed to Skokie, Illinois this past weekend to compete in the Wyndon Memorial Classic. The Hoosiers ranked 7th out of 14 teams, shooting 853 over 3 rounds. Mitch Davis and Noah Gillard tied for 13th place individually, both shooting a .212. Davis had 6 birdies in his final round, shooting a 70, while Gillard played the most consistent out of any Hoosier, shooting a 73, 70, 69, and 13 pars overall. Indiana will return to play on October 10th and 11th for the Purdue Fall Invitational. The Hoosiers won this event in 2021 and are looking to defend the title. Follow along with Kelsey Dennehy, Kennedy Racklow, and Hank Joseph for all things men golf.
And Gwen, you say Purdue. Who doesn't want to beat Purdue? Anyway, now joining us for this week's Candy Stripe Calendar Report is our very own Hank Joseph. Hank?
Thanks, Evan. Almost all IU sports are in Big Ten play now, so let's see what the Hoosiers are up to this weekend. Starting off not in Big Ten play, on Friday, the women's golf team travels to Virginia to compete in the Evie Odom Invitational, and cross country is headed to Pennsylvania for the Paul Short Invitational. Field hockey looks to continue their hot streak facing Rutgers here in Bloomington, while men's tennis goes up to East Lansing for the Spartan Duels invite. Headed into Saturday, Indiana volleyball will battle number 6 Ohio State in Wilkinson Hall at 7 p.m. While that's going on, IU football will try to bounce back after their first loss of the season as they go to Lincoln to take on the Nebraska Cornhuskers under the lights. Sunday will be a busy day as well, starting off with field hockey, playing Penn State in the morning, and women's soccer kicking off against Nebraska at 1. Finally, men's soccer heads on the road to face Michigan after a huge 4-1 win over Northwestern. That's all for this week's Candy Stripe Calendar. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Hank. That's our show for the week. Thank you, as always, so much for tuning in.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports to keep up with all the latest in IU athletics. For our production crew behind us, I'm Gwen Parks.
I'm Evan Kamikow, and we will see you next week.